Good morning, you guys. How we doing? Good? Tired? Who's tired? Everyone? Yeah? Long week? You have a good week at school? Sure, she says. Who has what was our assignment for today? What were we supposed to have done? Does everybody have their speeches done? Yeah? No? As good as they can? Who feels good about what they wrote and things? Yeah? Feel good? Everybody else doesn't feel good? No? Who feels not good about what they wrote? Why do you not feel good? What don't you feel good about? Are you nervous? Are you just because you're nervous doesn't mean that you can't, that it's not good. So basically this is the last day that we're gonna get together to help you guys, have the best shot at doing these TED Talks. We're not grading these, or we're not the ones deciding who gets to move on. So we're just the ones who get to help you feel good about this. So you're doing the competition for somebody else. We're just here to help you guys answer questions. Hey, is this good? Is this not good? Do you like this? Do you not like this? How does that sound? How does the layout work? You know what I mean? So we're just here to put you guys in the best position to succeed on the competition day. I want to make a couple agreements with you guys before we dive into the talks, okay? So we're gonna make them together and they're not just gonna be me. While our friends are doing talks, give me a couple things that we're gonna do, A, to support them, and B, to not be distracted while we're doing this.
Pay attention.
We're gonna pay attention? Okay, what's pay attention? What's paying attention look like? Not on our phones, not texting, not working on our speeches. We're gonna watch our friends, okay? Because we learn the most from critiquing our peers. So I don't wanna be, and Jess doesn't wanna be the only one kind of giving you guys advice. We want you guys to critique your peers as well. Does that make sense? Yeah. You learn from doing that. You ready, my friend?
Yes.
Wait,
Yeah?
Can I go second?
You can, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Smart device, the new organ of modern day human. They're with us constantly. From the first sound of the alarm in the morning to the time we close our eyes after typing goodnight to our friends on the phone. Without exaggerating, the time we spend on screen is almost as long as we're awake. It is necessary to figure out a question: how does screen time affect our life? So, insomnia as a topic is defined as a common sleep disorder and can make it hard to fall asleep, hard to stay asleep, or cause you to wake up too early, or not even to be able to get back to sleep. And there's the study shows excessive amount of screen time inhibits secretion of melatonin, which causes insomnia, leading to negative effect on mental health and daytime performance. And therefore, people should notice and shorten the screen time before sleep in order to reach better performance.
Nice.
Oh, stay up here, my
Yeah,
friend. Stay up here.
All right. Let's go through this thing. How do you feel? How do you feel about that? That's your topic. I think it's a great topic. What was your old topic?
My old topic is like cheat, try to not to cheat.
Try to not cheat. That is a great topic.
No, because like my hook is to cheat or not to cheat. This is a question. I'm talking about like, of course cheating can like make you go into like few tests or helping to get score, but long-term vision it won't help you at all. Because if you don't study enough or know the area you're learning, you will eventually be lost or get a negative effect on it.
Yeah.
But I think it's not as strong as my topics.
Yeah, I think this topic is a really great topic. So I think it's great. Now you just have to build on it more.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta keep going. What was our time, James?
It was 101.
101. So that's a good start. That's a good start for just changing your topic. So now you just need to do a little bit more research. You have your what defined, right? Your what our topic is, but yeah, continuing on, I think right now you just need to finish writing that to prepare for next week, right? So you have the slides that is like kind of like how we outline our talk from the first week.
The what, the so what, the now what,
No, I
the
don't.
alphabet.
Got it.
I learned it, but I don't have the slides.
Okay. We'll figure it out at the end and get you that so you can set set yourself up for success for next week, okay?
Thank you very
You
much.
feel all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Nice.
Good job, Mark. What I think we should do moving forward is if you have a phone,
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you have your phone, we'll have somebody volunteer to record her, if that's okay. So then she can then go back and look at what she did and study it later. It's one of the best tools that we can use in public speaking, not only because you're gonna see yourself up here, but then listen to yourself as well. You ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready.
Okay, James?
3, 2, 1, go.
June 22nd, 2006. Ordinary day, life-changing news. That morning, my mom and dad were heading out the door with their luggage. Now at first, they were going on an errand, or perhaps on vacation. But when I saw my grandma sobbing in the corner, something seemed wrong. Then my mother said to me, "Lisa, Mommy and Daddy are leaving. Take care of Grandma." She then walked away and left. That night, I didn't see my parents, or the night after, or after, or after. My parents had gone to America, while I stayed behind in China with Grandma. I was 3 years old. Now, as my parents were absent and Grandma was getting older, I forced myself to be independent and responsible at a young age. I woke up at 6 a.m. every day for school, and my weekend classes were filled with dance, calligraphy, kung fu, and chess. My loneliness and longing were often melted in my busy schedule, but they would reappear every day after school when I see my classmates get picked up by my parents, only remembering that mine would not appear. And in these 5 years that these feelings permeated my life, I began to believe that independence is the most valuable quality one can gain. When I was 8, I flew to America by myself, and it felt strange to be in school because I didn't know English. In reading class, while everyone gathered around the teacher for a story, I was pulled aside to learn basic vocabulary. Embarrassed by my classmates' snickers, I independently studied for 2 hours every night, and in 1.5 years, I caught up. Sophomore year of high school, I began working for the United Nations New Ways Education Foundation as a summer program director. Now, that year, when I earned my $1,000, my first paycheck, I felt so proud because I can finally pay for my own extracurricular fees and buy milk tea. Now, at that moment, I realized that I've garnered 3 types of independence: learning, living, and spending. And I thought I had everything figured out until I saw something on the news. The date was July 17th, 2014. At that day, African-American Eric Gardner was choked to death by 2 white police officers. As he yelled, "I can't breathe," 11 times, no bystander protested. They watched, they filmed, they were shocked, but they didn't act. But is that wrong? They're protecting themselves, right? They're being independent, right? Our generation is mechanized for self-preservation because that's what evolution taught us. As we become better and better at taking care of ourselves, we forget to empathize with others, where our empathy is not strong enough to kindle action. But as we proceed with our independent and festive lives, we have to realize that on the other end, there lies a prejudiced world breached by gaps. Gender gaps, racial gaps, social gaps, economic gaps. And the only adhesive to close these gaps is empathy. Now, I've experienced firsthand the conflict between empathy and fear. Now, last September, I testified at the Elway County Board of Supervisors hearing in support of the Elway County flavored tobacco ban. Just for a bit of context, I became involved in tobacco control in my freshman year. That spring break, I went back to China and surveyed 857 students and found that students there, compared to California, were 6 times more likely to smoke. Now, knowing that my friends that I grew up with were facing this normalized and fatal culture, I wanted to do something about it. and founded my nonprofit, International Youth Tobacco Control. So coming back to September 24th, that day I was very scared because tattooed vape shop retailers were rioting outside the city hall, and inside they were booing to the slightest mention of the flavor ban. I was scared that if I testified in support, I will be harmed, maybe right when I step outside the building. But I also know that the 2,506 patients with vaping-related illnesses, some of them who are teenagers, needed me. Because when they are in the hospital hooked onto oxygen tanks, they are not independent enough to project their voices. And that's how these gaps are formed. Because not everyone is independent enough to advocate for their own rights. And when that happens, there needs to be someone in this world that is willing to step up and be reliable. So I sat in front of the supervisors and I announced that we are here because my classmates are getting so addicted that they're hitting their jewels during class time in classrooms. We are here because in my school alone, 3 students have been suspended after caught vaping. We are here because I've seen minors reselling flavored e-cigarettes that she got from retailers. Now, during this process, there was booing from the crowd, and others who testified after me called me upon and told me to go back to school. And as I walked onto the streets of downtown LA, I was scared. In fact, this whole time I had been scared if I didn't know that a 19-year-old had lung collapse, that a 16-year-old was selling his clothes to buy vape juice, and a 13-year-old died from vaping-related illnesses. My independent mindset would have told me to protect myself, to remain silent. But my empathy overcame my fear. And when that happens, when your empathy overcomes your fear, you've become reliable. Now, it's not easy to be reliable. For me, it required an unrelenting vision and persistent endeavors. Now, in the beginning, I was the only person behind my nonprofit. I woke up at 4 a.m. to coordinate with schools in China a No Tobacco Week, in which we spread awareness with posters, broadcasting, and seminars. And as I recruited more people into the nonprofit, I wanted to remain student-led because I want this to be a platform for passionate youth to make a difference. But that was also the problem. Because we were all high schoolers, it's almost impossible to attain partnerships and funding. So for 5 months, our collaboration requests received no responses. Now, gradually, I became disillusioned about my ability to be reliable to my generation. Well then, a Chinese elementary schooler told me that he never would have learned about the harms of tobacco if it wasn't for our educational activity. And he would go home and educate his father, a heavy smoker, to quit. Now, that moment I wanted to cry because it felt that all my efforts were bearing fruit. And it feels so good that I am able to contribute and be reliable. After emailing the California Youth Advocacy Network for a 3rd time, we were connected to the California Senate. And they invited me and IYTC members to testify at the hearing and speak at the press conference for SB 38 and SB 39 to ban all flavored tobacco products across California. But I was very conflicted because we have no funding. We couldn't afford plane tickets nor hotels. But I wasn't willing to let this opportunity slip. So 4 members and I left at 2 a.m. in the morning and drove a 12-hour round trip to Sacramento. When I was there, I declared adamantly, it's time that California rise up against big tobacco and protect our teenagers. Afterwards, I received collaboration requests from American Heart Association, Stanford, and UCSF, who never knew us before. Now, this experience taught me that in order to be reliable, I must first be capable, not only taking care of myself, but having the power and qualities to take care of others. And in this press conference, I gained the platform and resources to further my mission. Now, this is kind of how IYTC stemmed from. And this process is filled with thorns because it's not easy to be reliable. But I think the question exists of why should we sympathize? Why should we care? You know, especially in tobacco control, most youth advocates have a personal story of how smoking affected their grandparents, cousins, or moms and dads. Well, for me, in the beginning, it was just empathy. That I saw a problem and I wanted to address it because I believe that every teen deserves a healthy life. Well, until January 2nd of this year, my personal story appeared. My great uncle, who was the only other person aside from my grandma, who was by my side in all the Chinese New Years that my parents weren't here. He passed away from lung cancer due to smoking. And little did I know that the only time I returned to China, which was to survey the 857 students about smoking, what was the last time I would see him. So why do we empathize? Because the world is circular and problems revolve. If there is discrimination against African Americans, then there will be discrimination against Asians, Hispanics, Latinos, and even Caucasians. If there's inequality towards women, then there will be inequality towards men and other identities. If there is a problem in one community, then there will be problems in other communities. If we don't solve the problem before it strikes us, then it will strike us. You know, all my life, I've been idolizing the concept of independence. But at some point, we have to realize that our lives are inextricably linked with society. So, if every day, or even once a week, you can listen to another story, either on the news, Facebook, or in person, and reflect deeply from that person's perspective with a sincere heart and mind. I want to know whether your humanity ignites your action. It's time that our generation learn to not only be independent, but also reliable. Thank you.
At her best, then she realized that it was her responsibility to be her best Lisa for everyone who didn't have that opportunity to be his best Ethan, right? Ethan's smoking a vape in the hallway and he doesn't know that it's bad for him, but Lisa is helping you inadvertently by being her best Lisa. Does that make sense? Kinda? Anybody else? What do you think? Yeah, brother.
I think the personal story with your grandfather really sets it in and really puts it in perspective for a lot of people, because a lot of people have kind of like the same issue where the family members are smoking and they don't really know how to do anything about it, and just hearing your own personal story kind of like, you know, really puts an impact and kind of sets it, you know, it just makes it even better than it was in the beginning. So, good job.
Thank you.
I love that. Keep going. Who else? Who else? Who else? Yeah, great things. I want to hear all of the great things about what just happened.
I like how Lisa projects her voice, like a very strong voice and a very like clear and easy to understand language.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You do a fantastic job at delivering, but delivering in influx, right? So you'll be delivering and talking about something that really matters, but then in the next moment, when you really want us to hear something, you talk to us like this, and you pull me in, and I listen even more. So very good balance when it comes to those things. Other things, what else did she do great? Yeah.
Just to add on to Ethan, like I think Lisa combined her personal story and the topic where she wanted to prove or talk about very closely together, make it touching, but also persuasive.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
I feel like I'm amazed by like what you have done, because like you're really taking action. It's not like you're just giving a speech, but it's like you're just telling the world like what you have done, and it's like, I don't know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, you're right. It's the perfect balance between between having it's easy for somebody to have an idea,
Yeah, but like
but to have a story behind the idea and a reason why we should believe you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like anybody could just say these things, but if to make me believe you with validity and conveyance is a different thing, and you do that very well. Who else? Other great things that she did. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, tell her. Bless you.
I like how you're really you're just really passionate about this topic. So like naturally the audience will want to pay attention to this too. So like they're invested in your belief as well. And also I like how you move across, not across the room, but you change your position. So,
Yeah, purposeful.
Yeah, it's I think it's really effective.
Great. Anybody else? Any other things? Any last things? Anybody? What are some things that Lisa did that you now want to go back and put into your talk or your story? What is something that she did that you're like, oh, that was really good, I'm gonna borrow that tactic or that tool that she used? I mean, I know you're gonna add some movement in yours, because you obviously made a comment that was very effective, so you just told me that sparked me the idea to ask. What do you think?
Personal anecdote.
Okay.
Like an actual my old story was watching on my phone to stay up late.
100%. There's two ways that as young people, I mean, I'm young too, there's two ways that we can be validated in the stuff that we say. It's either A, we have, studied or have been a master at this topic, right? We're educated in this space. Or B, we have experience in this space, right? She is not a scientist that, the long-term downstream effects of tobacco use. So in that sense, she's not an advocate, but she's an advocate because she's experienced these things, right? That's what makes her validity enhanced, you know what I mean? So in that sense, that's something that we all have to have in our speeches, because like she said, she had some research. She surveyed 857 students she surveyed in China about this topic. So there's some information, but at the same time, she also used personal story, right? So we need to enhance more personal story inside of ours, because that's how we believe it. It's something we actually experience. It's something that actually happened. You know what I mean? So add that whenever you can to create more of a sense of, that's real. I should believe this. It's a real thing that happened. So yeah, good job. Now to you, lady. How do you feel? You feel good?
I think so. I just felt the part, the last part about my great uncle, that I got too emotional. I couldn't really talk anymore. So I think
I think you straddled the line well.
Oh really?
Yeah. If you lose it and you have to start breathing and catching your breath never faltered. You know what I mean? So if you start to go like this, then I don't hear what you're saying, and then I think, I'm not thinking about the story you're telling, now I'm thinking about you crying. But you didn't go there. You kept it at, these are the tears in which I feel this pain, but I'm still telling you the message. So too much further, it would have been too far. But right where it was perfect.
Okay.
Or if you get to that point, you just stop, take a few breaths, regain, and then go right back into it. Because it just gives the audience a second to breathe as well with you,
Okay.
One other thing, so your topic, if you could put it in one sentence, 4 to 5 words, what would it be? What would your title, your speech be?
Oh, the title?
Yeah.
Independent and reliable.
Perfect. All right, so I want
independence too reliable?
I said independent and reliable.
Independent and reliable, okay.
So, to me, what I got from that was majority tobacco control, which I think is amazing as well. But that was about, I would say maybe 4 to 5 minutes of your speech, that chunk.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I got from it, you know what I mean? So that was the majority of the speech and what I heard. So just to encourage you to really bring it back to that then. So if you're going to talk about this tobacco, really incorporate independence and reliability within those stories somehow, if that makes sense. Because you kind of lose that when you're talking about the tobacco, because you're really passionate about that. Obviously, you started a nonprofit about it, you know what I mean? So you can tell that you are really passionate about that. That's a calling of yours. But then you kind of lose the speech topic. So just try to incorporate that into that whole tobacco thing, and then that can be really powerful to aid you in that independence and reliability topic. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So just go back in through that and see how you can really just bring those words in, and how can you be reliable in this state of tobacco emergency in youth, and how can you be independent when you know, like there's vape things everywhere, you know, and like how can you think independently when you all your friends are doing this, and you know what I mean? So just try to bring it back a little bit, because you go one way and then you come back and then you go this way, but just try to really like round it out, bring everything together. Okay?
Just consolidate that portion a little bit. Don't take out your personal story about your uncle.
No, that's awesome.
Don't take out the research you did in China. Don't take out the story about you going to the courthouse. But it's consolidating that to have that be an example of how you went from being independent to reliable in the space of advocating for others. Yeah, so you have to be, that's your example, you know what I mean? You don't want to then be an advocate for tobacco control on the TED stage. You are advocating for how we all have to be so independently confident that we can then help other people,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That's kind of where you're going, correct?
Yes.
So I would say just consolidate that a little bit, just that part, and then you're gonna be fine. What was our final length?
11:46.
That's pretty good. What I want you to try to do is shoot for 10.
Okay.
Shoot for 10. Yeah? I think you can do it. I think you can. Even shoot for 11. 11:46 is like 12. Think 12. So if we can get down to 10 or 11, that's a money window right there.
Okay.
Yeah?
Sorry.
You're great. You're awesome.
Everything your delivery was fantastic. You're just awesome. Congratulations. Who wants to go? Anybody?
Nice.
Ethan, what's your topic, bro?
So funny enough, mine is also tobacco and prohibiting. So
Alright.
That's good.
essentially-
No, that's awesome.
Essentially, what it is, it's kind of the same thing, except mine covers more like the environment, half of the physical health risks as well as the environmental health risks,
Okay.
and what it can do to bystanders nearby and the environment by doing tobacco and e-cigarettes and that type of stuff.
Okay.
Awesome.
So that's the what,
The what.
and then the so what. What's your solution?
My solution is that, well, this kind of ties into hers,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool because she gave me the motivation to, you know, like say mine. I wish I could have gone before her because mine is like, oh, we got to do something about it, and she is we're doing something about it right now.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, we as the next generation have to prohibit smoking and
Yeah.
you know, spread awareness about the cause.
Of course. So your now what is awareness,
Right.
and then trying to create some type of solution to putting a bow on that whole
Exactly.
scene.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. You feel good?
I feel.
You nervous?
Take a breath.
Yeah. Take a deep. Everybody take another deep breath in through the nose. And blow it out. You're right. I want you to stand strong. Right now, you're a little off center. Stand
Oh, yeah.
centered. Feel
Sure.
good, and just tell us your thing. James, are you ready with the clock?
Yeah.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
You're at a friend's house. Tired from a hard week of school. Sorry, can I restart?
3, 2, 1, go.
You're at a friend's house. Tired from a hard week of school as it's finally Friday, you kick back, binge on snacks, and enjoy the excitement of Call of Duty Black Ops 2. A great start to a Friday night. Then, suddenly, your friend pulls out a pack of cigarettes, opens it up, and grabs 2. He then looks over at you, and he offers, give it a shot. It's fun. At face value, the start to this innocent teenage evening would be like every other. Just the guys, some games, that's all. Unbeknownst to them, the minute they light a cigarette is the same minute that one can fall victim to the whirlpool of addiction known as smoking. The trend of smoking cigarettes has blown out of proportion and can cause detrimental effects to society. Being such a dangerous yet accessible commodity, both kids and adults have been able to get their hands on a product, causing this dilemma to be more prevalent than ever. Due to the fact that smoking cigarettes contributes to many deleterious risks, deteriorates the condition of the environment, and affects the well-being of bystanders, smoking cigarettes should be completely prohibited. Smoking cigarettes often lead to many adverse effects. According to the research by the BMJ journal, just smoking one cigarette makes someone 74% more likely to develop coronary heart disease, 30% more likely to have a stroke, and even damages the structure and function of your blood vessels. With many of these side effects and harm to the body, smoking on its own contributes to 90% of all lung cancer deaths, according to the CDC. Gradually over the years, the uncontrollable addiction of smoking cigarettes has become a pandemic, more than 480,000 deaths on its hands per year. In recent years, e-cigarettes have also become an epidemic amongst teenagers and young adults. Under the misconception that smoking via e-cigs is safer, many have habitually started to use them. Though e-cigarettes do not contain tobacco, which can cause lung disease and many other effects, the perpetrator of sucking innocent people is in the nicotine. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, nicotine causes you to smoke and suffer withdrawal symptoms if ignoring the craving. The chemical is also toxic to the body and raises heart rate and likelihood to have a heart attack. Currently, the overall effects of smoking e-cigarettes is unknown, but with the chemical THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, as many others, the habit can pose serious health risks, being linked to lung and cardiovascular disease. There is no safe option to smoke, even as the tiniest puffs scatter thousands of dangerous chemicals around the body. The sole alternative would be to abstain and ban smoking, which would not only save us and millions of lives, but our environment as well. Although smoking causes alarming effects to the body, what's more tragic is what it does to the environment. In the rainforest, tobacco planting causes deforestation, and the entire process of manufacturing cigarettes releases chemicals that are not only toxic, but also contaminates the soil, making it unusable for other crops. Forests also transform into wildfires from burned cigarettes and discarded lighters. Cities are scattered with cigarette butts due to rainstorms which drift off into the ocean, or waterways due to rainstorms affecting aquatic animals. Moreover, the trending and popular e-cigarettes also pose harm to our surroundings. E-cigarettes contain heavy metals and nicotine, deeming them a biohazard waste. Furthermore, a type of e-cigarette, the Juul, is a single-use plastic pod which creates more waste than reusables and takes decades to break down. Not to mention, most of them are not thrown into proper disposal areas, as, quote, any of those pods don't even make it into the trash can, as anyone who spotted one of them on the sidewalk knows, quoted by the Truth Initiative. Finally, for all the pet owners, imagine your pet stumbles across a small item on the street and you realize they consume a cigarette remain. With regard to your pet's health, hopefully the odds are in your favor. Bystanders that cross paths with smokers deal with the most unfortunate issues. Smokers trap citizens in poisonous shackles, leaving to rot with no rescue. Even if a bystander walks by a smoker, they are prone to the same diseases and health risks for smokers as they may inhale the chemicals within the proximity. Furthermore, according to the American Heart Association, furnitures can retain chemicals from cigarettes, which can lead to fatal diseases and illnesses which build up over time. Now, for some of you, I know what you may be thinking at this very moment. Smoking cigarettes can benefit our nation's economy through jobs and exports. As a major industry, tobacco reigns superior, making smoking difficult to prohibit. Globally, the net worth of the tobacco industry is an astounding, with the estimated study in 2017 that indicates the total value is $785 billion. US. However, at the expense of what? At the cost of the health and well-being of our citizens? You can't buy good health, nor can you save it once it's too late. Furthermore, it's not the culprit of smoking who's affected. Those around are affected due to the fumes, just due to solely crossing paths. As difficult as it may seem, to enforce a non-smoking rule in restaurants and public places in order to shield the health of innocent bystanders is a must. Now, again, I'm sure what you're thinking. Why should we worry about this? After all, we're only teenagers and don't suffer from smoking addictions. But the truth is that many others besides us do. And the truth is that we will also be the adults of tomorrow. It is our duty to make the right decisions. It is our duty to tread the path of the greater good that others before us did not. It is our duty to eradicate the substantial problem of cigarette smoking that plagues our world. With smoking cigarettes raising health risks, deteriorating the environment, and affecting other bystanders, it is quintessential and definitely not a matter that should be overlooked. In essence, We must take immediate action to prohibit smoking cigarettes before it becomes too late. Thank you.
You're like the mastermind between this universal shift, and you're like the face poster boy on the commercial that's like, let me tell you about why this needs to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys are a power duo right here. Go change the world, okay?
It's a wombo combo.
That's what I'm saying. Whatever a wombo combo is, sauce in there and serve that thing out, okay?
For sure.
Give me what do you do well? What do you do well? Yeah.
Despite being thick, your vocal production is really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a great voice.
Thank you.
You have a great voice. You have a great inflection, but your inflection you don't use as much because you're reading off your dang phone.
Yeah, I was because last week it was solely just smoking cigarettes.
No, of course.
So I had to change it midway during the week, and
Yeah.
I didn't have time to.
No,
memorize it.
I think what you have is a fantastic start. But you do have some work to do by next Saturday if you want to kill it. Okay, which you're going to kill it. You're on the right track. But you got to get that thing memorized first and foremost. Because
sir.
once you get memorized, then you can strategically create inflection, which I want you two to find a time this week to get together to help each other. Not only are you going to benefit each other on the topic, in the validity of what you're talking about, but also she can help you create inflection, you can help her cut and trim the fat, work together, and create that team to make this the best we can. You know what I mean? Before I tell you other things, anybody else, what did he do great? Tell her.
I really like that you mentioned secondhand smoking like bystanders, because now I think I'm gonna die.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Did you say any facts about
Yeah.
bystanders, secondhand smoke? What was
So
it?
bystanders have actually the same amount of risk as as the perpetrators of smoking, as the chemicals are like sucked in by both the people around them as well as the perpetrator themselves.
Yeah, see, now I think I'm gonna die.
You're not gonna die. No one's dying here. We're gonna be just fine. Anybody else? What did you do great?
Yes.
Your whole organization for your speech is like worded really well. So
Yeah.
you get your idea across really
Yeah.
clearly.
Thank you.
Yeah. What was his time, James?
It was 6:23.
Great. That's a great spot to be at. You didn't miss anything. I wasn't looking for more information. The only thing, actually, before I tell you some things, what are some things that he could do better? Where's his opportunities to grow? Anyone?
Oh, she has something.
Yeah.
Like gesture, because like when you're talking about like the forest, I really
Yeah.
like how you like use like gesture to help your speech. Maybe do more like.
For sure. Once this is not here and I can use my arms and everything,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
100%.
So for me, I guess it's just
Yeah.
the memorization.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I before Saturday, I mean, I wish I could see you again to like see you do it, full out with your hands and everything. But make it purposeful. Make sure that you're doing this purposefully. Do your speeches with each other before Saturday so you can see it, because you can't see yourself doing
Right.
your own speech. Otherwise, you're awkwardly doing it in the mirror, which is effective, but not in this case. Yes, that is a great thing, but once you get it memorized, you'll be working on that. Anything else that he has the opportunity to grow in? Yeah.
Well, first I really like your conviction. I just feel like when you're standing up there, like you have like the power stance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
The thing I was a bit confused about is that I wasn't sure whether you're talking about like teenagers or adults, like when you're talking about smoking. And also like in the beginning, it was just mostly like you mentioned smoking and then goes to e-cigarettes and goes back to smoking. So I wasn't really sure kind of what is the main message trying to get across.
So my main message was, because cigarettes, right? Now with the prevalent e-cigarettes, I guess I kind of put them together in like a bubble term, as they both contain nicotine and are kind of bad. They have a catered audience. Sorry, they have a catered audience towards adults and now somehow teenagers. That story is actually true. In the beginning, I was offered a cigarette by one of my friends, and I was like, no, I think I'll pass.
Yeah.
But I was just saying that it's not only adults that do cigarettes, teenagers, young adults, and sometimes even preteens can do cigarettes. There was a statistic. It wasn't very noticeable and it wasn't very astounding, so I didn't really bother to add it, but it was just shocking that even pre-teenagers and kids like 7 or 8 would bother even considering to do a cigarette.
Yeah.
So what my main message here is that smoking, whatever cause, e-cigarettes, cigarettes should be banned, prohibited at all. And there's many different, health risks and environmental risks, and people around you are also affected.
What I would say is that, like, since you said your story is real, right? It happened to you. To say in first person, I think that will be more impactful when you say it there. Because I think the way you said it was like, imagine you were doing this. Something
Right,
more like
yeah.
the audience. But if you say it's you, then it feels more real. And then secondly, when you talk about e-cigarettes, because you said it's more catered towards teens, you can like cite some stats about that. Like right now, I think it's 26% of all American teenagers, they use e-cigarettes. And you can talk about how a lot of the flavors, they look like Sour Patch and Warheads and like Pop-Tarts, right? They have like unicorn slushy or something. And also because I think the majority of the audience sometimes will be adults and they'll have kids. So when they hear that, they connect a lot.
Yes.
I think the majority of teens, like, or like, I don't know, maybe just my friends, but my friends who do vape, they kind of don't like cigarettes. They think it's kind of nasty, which is why they vape. So, like, you can talk about how, like, smoking cigarettes, you can cater to, like, adults and vaping towards their teens. Because I know, like, teens are, like, think smoking is disgusting, but they still vape. So, I don't know.
I think what might help with that, and kind of to tie the loose end of what you were saying about the overall, like, is it vape, is it tobacco, is it smoke, what is it? And just tobacco products in a bubble. Like creating a consistent verbiage instead of being like, this and this and vape, and this and cigarettes, and this and smoking.
That makes sense.
Yeah, creating a consistent verbiage of tobacco products. You need to make a shift in this, like, because weed and pot and THC is an entirely different industry, although they're tricking us and putting it into products like that.
Right.
It's a whole nother medical initiative, right? Like, you can do that however they wish they want to explain that. But, creating that consistent verbiage will help with that, and conveying that message. Again, get together, help them tie up the loose end on the sources. A couple other sources I want you to add in there that are going to be very important to people like me who are educated in this space and can be like, well, what about this? Or, what about this? To avoid people saying, well, what about this, or that? Add some more facts about your environmental stance on it. There was a lot of fantastic facts and cited sources about the downstream effects of what smoking can have on a person and the people around us. But when in regards to the environment, you just simply stated about deforestation. And then I was like, okay, well, you could have just said that. I mean, I know that it does.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I'm on your side here.
Right.
But you just blanket statement, and this about deforestation, or this and this about the rain washes the cigarettes to the ocean and whales choke on them. And then you didn't say anything about whales, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So talk about, in 2014, X, Y, and Z amount of trees were something, and that could have done this positive thing, but instead it did this negative thing.
Got it.
Creating a fact that gives us more of a full scope view of it.
Right.
Same thing when you start talking about the economy. That was my whole thing the entire time. I'm like, oh, stupid guy. Like, you know that like hundreds of billions of dollars go into our economy because of this thing.
Right.
And you combated that. So you acknowledged that before I even told you about it. But then you didn't say any facts. You said a number, but then I was like, well, where could that money be going? You talked about that, okay, this in our economy is whatever, and yes, that would do exponential things to our economy, but think about what that could do for healthcare. How many billions of dollars could be saved on research and lung cancer and all of these different little facets of the healthcare system in which this affects?
Right.
What could be done, as opposed to, there's a lot of money spent on it, so that's our challenge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just dig into it a little bit more research on that end. So 2 things for research. 1, environment. 2, the economy, a solution to that. You know what I mean? But you covered all the bases.
I'll take that.
Yeah, you
It's a
did
start.
fantastic.
Awesome.
This is
Good.
great.
Thank you.
So, yeah. All right, my friend.
Oh, you're senior?
What do you got going on here?
Purebred dogs and like the consequences.
Yes, I've been excited to hear about this.
3, 2, 1, Go.
Labrador Retriever, German Shepherd, Bulldog, Beagle. These dogs, some of the most loved in the entire US, are suffering every day due to humans' vain needs and desires. In order to be called a specific breed of dog by organizations such as the American Kennel Club, dogs have to meet a specific set of standards. This forces breeders to breed dogs with their direct relatives in order to get them to meet those standards. This inbreeding creates genetic problems in dogs which forces them to live painful lives, all because these organizations force these strict and unnatural standards onto owners. There are many ways to solve this problem, but if awareness stays low and people continue to be uninformed, it will only grow worse. This problem has been slowly forming for over 7,000 years, when humans first started breeding dogs to get the best traits from each one. In the 20th century, when dog shows started to become popular, dogs started to be bred not for their great hunting ability, but in order to achieve a specific look, which defined each breed. The Bulldog, one of the best examples of this rapid change, looks completely different now than it did 150 years ago. Instead of the sturdy, athletic dog it used to be, the modern Bulldog faces countless problems which affect its ability to breathe and live a normal life. A study found that the average Bulldog is genetically equivalent to the offspring of two siblings. If a relationship between two siblings is looked down upon, then why do we allow the same thing for our dogs? In fact, French Bulldogs are 16 times more likely to suffer from difficult births than the average dog. About half of these problems force the dog to go into extremely painful surgery just to give birth to her child. Due to their weight, most bulldogs cannot reproduce without assistance either, further complicating their life and the life of their owner. In fact, health problems got so extreme that some airlines banned bulldogs from flying because about half of all dogs who die in flight are short-faced breeds such as bulldogs. This is all due to the fact that breeders are forced to inbreed dogs in order to get them to match the unhealthy norms set by modern society. The popularity of purebred dogs such as bulldogs is increasing every day, with the number of registered bulldogs in the United States tripling in the past 15 years. This rise in popularity also comes with a rise in abandonment, with the amount of bulldogs found in shelters hitting all-time highs recently. Many aren't familiar with the health costs associated with owning a purebred dog, leading to them leaving the dog in the streets. The Royal Veterinary College even warns that French bulldog owners should expect a lifetime of expensive veterinary bills. An unhealthy dog also comes with an owner falling in love with it, only to see it plagued with problems and disorders in every part of its life. A large part of that due to the inbreeding these dogs are forced to take part in. Bulldogs aren't the only breed that face these problems. Labrador Retrievers have a substantially greater chance of encountering eye cancer, skin allergies, and joint pain. Beagles often have to deal with memory cancer, herniated discs, and dementia. Boxers have a greater chance of encountering cancer, eye ulcers, and respiratory problems. The road to helping these suffering dogs isn't simple. In order to fix the problem we have created for ourselves, we need to raise awareness surrounding purebred dogs and the consequences which are around them. With the demand for purebred dogs skyrocketing in recent years, the supply will as well. Shady breeders will interbreed dogs just to make a few bucks, cursing new puppies with a lifetime of pain. If you really want to own a purebred dog, ensure that it comes from a reputable breeder that meets standards in order to make sure that your dog can live a full life. Breeders shouldn't leave owners in the dust after getting a new dog and should be there to help owners through their puppy's new life and for the rest of their life. Meet your breeder in person and get appropriate documentation of the dog and his parents. Getting a dog's pedigree can ensure that they were properly bred and have the opportunity to live a healthy and happy life. Any dog can live a good life, but society's obsession with only ones of a pure breed has many of them suffering as a result.
Good job. Good job. So good. All right. Tell us, what did you do fantastic? What was awesome?
Good memorization.
Yeah. Good job. You're so close. You're almost there. You held the paper to feel comfortable, but I think if you weren't holding it, you would have had the whole thing. Do you think so?
Maybe.
Close.
Yeah.
You might have stumbled a few times, but you would have forced yourself to do it. Next time you do this thing all the way through, no paper. I think you can memorize it. Yeah. What else?
I really liked the logos that you employed, like the analogy between like siblings and dogs. That was really effective. It just like clicked for me right away. Something I would suggest though is that in the beginning when you're giving off like the breed names, I think it would resonate more with me if you stood still because I was a bit distracted. But if you like said it out loud and then it can come one by one to me as well.
Alright.
Yeah. What else?
Is he allowed to have slides?
Yeah, of course.
So maybe like put some
Not for
pictures.
next week, but if indeed you get chosen to do the talk, of course.
Cause like when I heard the name, it's like not that strong. Cause I'm a like dog person, so I really sympathize with it. But if I really like see the picture, like the visual, I will like came to realize just like what kind of horrible things are being done to these like adorable puppies. So.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That would be an effective tool to use, although it would make me very sad. I think everything was really good. Your topic is great. It's fun. It's different. What do you think that you could do better?
I guess sometimes when I was moving, I was kind of just like.
You were
I felt
aimlessly
like-
wandering
yeah.
around the stage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you have to have purposeful movement. So like she said, when standing still, you're gonna stand golden retriever, Labrador, this, and that. Then I have time to think about it, and I'm not watching you meander around. I think you never stopped walking the entire time. So you have three kind of points in your thing, like the what, the dogs, the so what. This is what's happening to these dogs, and it's not good, and here's some research about it. And then you said a line, the road to solving this problem. That's where you take your third step. So you're in the middle, and then you walk over. And let me tell you about what's going on with these dogs for real. Then you walk over to this side. The road to solving this problem lies in what I'm about to tell you. Okay? So then I have three different movements. Right now this is something, and now you got me emotionally tied. You go over and let me destroy your hearts by all of this terrible stuff we're doing to these amazing animals, and then walk over here and be like, but this is what we're gonna do about it. So motivated movement, I would say 3 different moves for you is a good number. So shoot for 3 motivated moves. And then your 2 things for your solution, or 3 things were what? Awareness.
Yeah.
We need to create awareness, which is fantastic that you're doing. Keep doing it. Whatever you gotta do, create a nonprofit or something. She could probably help you get your DUNS number. And what else?
If you do want to get a purebred dog, make sure that it comes
Reputable
from
breeder. And then the last one?
and then like medical history of the dog.
Got it. I would say find a stronger third one, because awareness is great. Reputable breeder is a fantastic solution, but something now that's going to solve the problem, right? So these are ways in which a person can solve the problem for themselves and their animal experience, but for the dogs. Even if you come up with something, some new thing, even if you make it up, that's fine, whatever it is, but come up with a solution to the problem and try to throw that in there. Do you have nothing?
No, I'm just sad about the dogs now.
I think it was great. Good job, man. Keep working, memorize it, you'll be good. What was his time, by the way?
5:22.
Nice. Good job. All right, tell me what you got going on.
So my speech is about seizing opportunities.
Okay.
I missed the second meeting, so I didn't
Yeah,
know I
okay.
had to have a speech ready by the last meeting.
You're good.
So I have not memorized.
Hey, that's okay.
yeah.
Do the best you can. Do the best you can.
Alright, cool.
So first thing first, I want you to stand stronger. chest up, shoulders back, roll those things back. Bro, I was literally you in high school. I was literally you. This was me. We're gonna go do my speech now. Put your shoulders back.
Even more. Okay.
Stand strong. Now, I want you to try to bring more air through your voice. Right now, you just talk with little air, so it sounds like this.
Okay.
But I want you to talk, like project a little more.
Okay.
Yeah? What's your name?
Colin.
Colin, what's your last name?
Oh.
Colin.
Yeah.
All right. Hit me with your best shot, brother.
Ever have a really good idea? Maybe an invention so creative that you doubt its worth, believing it to be crazy or even impossible. You might think to yourself and say, man, that's too hard, or nah, that's a dumb idea anyways. Well, you're not alone. Many of us have thoughts and ideas of things that we want to achieve, but never act on them. It happens all the time. We could be lying in bed thinking of the coolest ideas, but they never see daylight because we forget them by the next morning. Why do we not take action on our dreams? Maybe because we're discouraged by different obstacles in our path, afraid of trying something new, or hesitant to put in the work. All these inconveniences can be overcome. It is important to always remember to take action and seize the opportunity. The people who we admire are those who at some point in their lives took actions while we sat there and watched them. It is important to not just see your opportunity, but also seize it. Oftentimes when we are trying to seize our opportunity, we get distracted and begin to lose sight of our goals. Many of us have friends and family members who have incredible potential, but we see them throwing away their future for insignificant reasons. I have a friend who's one of the smartest people I know, who also has enormous potential. He even has a full ride to a prestigious boarding school. Although he's a great kid who loves to learn, he is preoccupied with things that cause him to stray further from his dreams. One night he was partying in his dorm and he was caught smoking weed by a house dean. After this incident, the school suspended him and his parents required him to have random drug testing. When he tested positive again, his parents threatened to withdraw him from boarding school and send him instead to a local public school in LA. I'm very worried for him because I see that he's wasting a chance at a better education and a better life. He sees the opportunity that he has, but chooses to self-destruct. When trying to accomplish our goals, we must remember to focus on the task at hand rather than being overwhelmed with distractions. When we focus on distractions, we won't have a chance to discover new opportunities. Do not be afraid to try something new, because you never know the great things that will come ahead. I have a maid with a daughter named Paula. Paula is currently a senior and has been in the United States for 3 years. She occasionally comes by and helps around the house. One day, her school had held a college fair, and the students at her school aren't too motivated, so they didn't attend it. Paula was one of the few students who actually went to the college fair. At the fair, she made connections, found out about many schools she never would have thought to apply to, and made an impression on the right people. Unlike her peers, who didn't want to spend their weekend attending a college fair, she wasn't afraid to try something new. Along with her 4.2 GPA and her 1400 on her SATs, these extra few actions were enough to get her an acceptance letter from Cornell 8 months later. It is important to try something new despite what your friends or other people say, because great possibilities may appear. Along with trying new things, you must know how to handle new situations. So, go with the flow. We all have heard this phrase countless times, usually meant to not take things too seriously. However, I interpret this as if you stay in the flow of life, you can recognize opportunities as they appear. Sometimes that can even mean turning.
I think just by the way in which you converse in real life, just like super chill, the way you delivered was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, like you're a different person when you're
Like instantly.
when you get passionate, you're not even the same guy. So live that passionate life.
Alright.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're talking to friends or talking to teachers, like the way you're looking at me right now and the way you looked at me when you were doing your thing, it's effective.
Okay.
And I believe you. But you're diminishing your value, not just of your speech, but of you as a human.
Yeah.
When you don't really care.
Alright.
Is it? I don't really.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I see what
But
you
I
mean.
know you care. I obviously know you care. You're extremely passionate. You want everybody to live their best and be this in pursuit of their greatest potential at all times. But how can you make me do that if you don't do that?
That's true.
You have to be a person of integrity. I know that when Lisa goes out here, she's still got a nonprofit organization about how she's gonna crush big business tobacco companies, right? You are that person. So I want you to be that person.
Alright.
I don't even care if you don't do a TED Talk. If you do or if you don't, I don't care. But I want you to continue being that person. Make other people do it and spread that beat. You know who you are as your individual, but now you have to be the advocate for other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Couple things I want you to do.
Yeah.
Couple things I want you to do. I think that's something that you need to add in there about when talking about, the first thing was sticking with your goal.
Yeah.
Bring light to the fact that people chase goals that aren't theirs, right? Society gives all of us like a goal of get a great degree and do this thing. Or my parents want me to be a world champion tennis player.
Not possible.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like people, parents, society, culture, schools put goals onto us, and you're never gonna achieve those goals unless they're your goals. So I want you to write down, like, assess your goal. Ask yourself, is this my goal? Is this really my dream? Is this what I'm meant to be doing? Because so many times in life, especially young people like us, our parents say, oh, you should do this one thing, or your school says, oh, you need to do this one thing, and then you get to that one thing and you accomplish it and you're like, huh, well, I didn't really care about that. You know what I mean? So assess your goal. Make it your goal, your dream, your reason. Create more connection there. It was fantastic. Good job, brother.
Thank you.
Let's go! Speak to me.
I don't have it memorized because I changed half of it.
That's alright. Give us what you got.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go.
I was a bystander to cyberbullying. Ever since I could remember, my mom has always told me, don't get yourself involved in any bullying incidents. Don't help the bullies, don't support the victims, just pretend you haven't seen anything. So I won't become the next target of the bullies. Well, I have to admit that for years in my life, I've been deeply believing these lines and being the bystander. But that's wrong. There's thousands of minors, teens, even adults that have committed suicides because of cyberbullying. People are dying because of the words, the phrases, the virtuous things online. Several months ago, one celebrity was suspected to have committed suicide in South Korea at the age of 25. She was the target of bullies because she did not restrict herself to just behave as a female star, because she refused to conform to social norms. It really shocked me, not only because I realized how hurtful these words could be, but also how serious this issue is. After her death, suddenly all the internet trolls disappeared. Did their fearless confidence got destroyed? Have they finally realized that it's not a joke until she paid it with her life? No one cares about the truth. No one wants to know who she is. They just blindly follow the public opinion, holding the so-called social ethics, typing vicious comments online ceaselessly. But for her, she has ended her own life. When she was still there, I did not leave any messages to support her. I did not say anything to her because I didn't think someone like me, a nobody, would be hurt. I didn't think someone like me could have any power to make any difference, especially someone like me who was afraid to become the next target. What was more heartbroken was when I did research, I came to realize just how prevalent this issue is in youth community worldwide. I've known students who stopped to going to school because they're afraid of being bullied. But what about those that are being cyberbullied? Is there any way for them to go? Brandy Vela, An 18-year-old girl was been receiving abusive text messages for months from bullies using the untraceable smartphone app. She shot herself in the chest in front of all her families. Valerie Rose Grossman, a 12-year-old girl, hung herself in her bedroom closet after at least 9 months of cyberbullying in 2017. What led them to end their lives might not only just the bullies, not the insults, not the illness, but the ignorance from the rest of us. When they were being hurt, being hated, being slaughtered, no one reached out to them. What pushed them to make that decision was probably not that word, that phrases, not the hatred from that person, that group, but the ignorance from the world, from the rest of us, that made them lose their incentive to leave. Every morning when they open their eyes, the first thing that enters their mind is probably not how to spend a day with their loved ones, but how to hide from the hatred. Looking back, I realized bullying has created negative impacts far beyond the abused ones. Bullying's great power was that it even silenced people who weren't involved, like me, being afraid to become the next target, being ignorant and avoiding facing the problem directly for 16 years. The wide, indirect impact of cyberbullying is its most insidious quality. So subtle, yet so pervasive, that we don't even notice we're being affected by bullying if we don't stop to truly think. See, bullying is about creating fear and taking power away from people. That's exactly what happened to my mom. As out of fear, out of her love for me and desire for me not to get hate physically or emotionally, the nail that sticks out will get hammered down. My mom didn't want me to draw negative attention to myself. But I want to take a stand against cyberbullying, to find courage, to forbid bullying from spreading its subliminal evil clutches. Bullying must be fought on both obvious and non-obvious fronts. I used to believe one person like me could never make a difference against bullying. But I was wrong. Today, I'm here to tell you that one person absolutely is enough to make all the difference. In fact, if my talk today is any bit effective, my hope is that all of you listening will become advocates of anti-bullying. So one person, little old me, could inspire a crowd, a community, a world against bullying. When we find our voice, we can be loud, because we are the next generation.
That's such a good topic. Such a good topic. It's so important. What do you guys like? What do you think she did great? Yeah.
I think one point she did very well is she makes the point about like cyberbullying can happen on anybody, anyone who connect to the internet.
Yeah.
So it greatly enhances the importance and address the readers or viewers' attention to the topic.
100%.
Because since it will make the reader or the viewer realize that this could happen on me or on them every day.
Yeah. Correct. That's so important. You guys have synergy too. Work together. Yeah. Awesome. What else did you love? Yeah.
I actually loved a lot of things. First, in the beginning, when you were talking after the celebrity, I really loved the ascendant where you didn't use conjunction and you just went on like just painting with her life, typing viciously. It was just kind of building onto each other and really created kind of something, kind of like a burden inside my heart that because your call to actions, like you gotta step up, right? So it kind of built to your solution. And then the other thing I really liked is the specific examples when you're like Brandy Villa and the other 12-year-old girl. Because like when you talk about people, that's what we connect with. And also something I really liked was you were talking to the audience. Like you were looking at me and you were talking to me. Like I felt that you really wanted me to listen to you, and I did.
Once you're memorized, it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good. Just focus on. So your topic is great. The structure is great. You can add a little things, which I'll tell you about in a minute, but other than that, you're on the right track. You just gotta memorize it and then really just give it to me. Because you believe in this. You really do. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you actually? I can tell. I can tell that you can. And you did it. So, good job. What else? Yeah.
I would say like, I guess talk about how more the media can also affect like a group of people. For example, like when everyone was bagging on those Fila Destructor shoes, like those big ones, I feel like a lot of people who own those shoes were like kind of offended and like were self-conscious about the shoes that they're wearing. So maybe like you can talk about how maybe it affects one person, but it could also affect a group of people.
Yeah. What else do you like? Yeah.
Your voice projection was like really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Compared to the first day, you remember when you like were so scared to even tell us your name? And then you just did that. It was awesome. Good job. What else? Yes.
Everything is so perfect.
Good job. I have a couple things for you. You started with, I was a bystander one time. I want to know about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you were like, this one time, I was a bystander to cyberbullying. Start by telling me the story. I was this old, and this friend that I love so much had this psychopath person that was saying X, Y, and Z and doing these things. And that's when I knew that the way in which I was brought up, my mom telling me to avoid it altogether, wasn't the right way to go about it. I have the capability to change, and let me tell you how. And I have the ability to advocate and stand up, and this is how we all do. You know what I mean? So tell that story in the beginning, because that's your personal experience.
Before I said like what my mom told me, like at
Yes.
start.
So I want to know what happened to your friend.
Nothing.
Or you could talk about, you know, or you could talk about, you know, my mom said this, always stay away from this. When I was growing up, my mom told me this. But when this happened with my friend, X, Y, and Z, that's when I knew that I need to make a change. You know what I mean? Also, you said, I think you gave 2 examples of when, you know, teens committed suicide, but you said a lot of, you said like, you were talking about suicide, the suicide rate. Kids are dying every day. Or like kids, like many people are committing suicide. I think you said thousands, didn't you? You said something like that. I want to know specific things. How many lives have been affected? How many families have been affected? You gave me an example of who, but then I want to know more about that. Like, you know what I mean? Just the mass. You said they're committing suicide, and you said people are dying, but I want to know an exact number.
Like statistics.
Yeah, some more statistics about the suicide repercussions. This is causing people to kill themselves. In the last 5 years, X amount of people have died due to cyberbullying. And I'm sure there's a number on it, and I'm sure you can even say that there's so many more people that have probably committed suicide because of cyberbullying that we don't know that that's why they did it. But they did it because of that, and we just don't know it. But I'm sure there's research that shows that, so find a little bit more about that. And then you said the quote, when I did research, but then didn't give me research. You remember that? You said there was a quote in there. What did you say after when I did research?
What was more heartbroken was when I did the research, I came to realize just how prevalent cyberbullying is in the youth community worldwide.
Yes, and then you gave a couple examples about 2 people. So maybe say the thing about, you know, cyberbullying being committed worldwide, and this is a research, or this happened, this happened, this happened, instead of being like, when I did the research, because when you say, when I did research, I'm expecting research right there, and then I'm like, well, where's the research? Then I'm not thinking about the story. You know what I mean? So tell me, you know, thousands of people are being affected worldwide, people are being affected internationally as well. Here's a story about it, and then that becomes the research through storytelling. As opposed to being like, when I did research, no research. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So you just restructure that little paragraph around just a tiny bit. Other than that, it was fantastic. Fantastic.